Welcome into the Dynamis podcast this week, guys. This week, we are blessed to have the opportunity to talk to a really powerful individual who has had an impact on my life personally. He's a mentor, a coach. He's someone that has helped me break some bad habits, see through my potential, focus on the fruitful future. And I think what he has to share with us today is going to be really impactful to your life. I'd love to introduce him with a short bio. Everybody yearns to have at least one person in their life who believes in them, that they can do whatever they say they can do, who believes they can be that person they want them to be. Andrew is that person. Andrew grew up in Boise, Idaho. He served a 2-year service mission for his church in Belgium and France. He went on to receive a master's degree in education and loved teaching high school students for 6 years. Since 2015, Andrew has cultivated the teaching passion as a best-selling author, speaker, and coach, helping individuals break through limiting beliefs, transform their lives and businesses, and find lasting freedom. When away from work, you can find Andrew with his family on the soccer field, the basketball court, recital halls, or in the mountains, Idaho. His wife and 6 kids drive his life mission. At the end of the day, know this: Andrew will take a stand for your greatness more than you will stand for your own limitations. He will fight harder for your possibilities than you do. Welcome, my friend Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely. It's a honor to have you here, and we have a lot of exciting things to talk about. But you and I shared a pretty intimate experience, and I experienced a breakthrough session with you. These breakthrough sessions are powerful in kind of an intangible way. It's hard for me to put into words how powerful they are, but you and I sat through a session over a period of a few days and really explored what the future looked like. And you kind of helped me break down some barriers that I didn't even realize I was fighting or dealing with every day. It's amazing the progress you start to make after getting into alignment. It just takes somebody special like you to help you see that, to see that you're out of alignment and help you align. And it's been life changing. This podcast, Andrew, is a lot about mindset and removing limiting beliefs. A lot of the themes that I talk about day in and day out on this podcast comes from just even a short session that you and I shared, and the seeds that you planted in my brain to help me be forward looking.
That's amazing. I didn't know all this was going to come from that. That's one of the cool things about being a breakthrough coach is we get to experience the breakthrough together. Sometimes I don't know the fruits that come from those seeds that are planted when those possibilities are just ingrained into your soul. So I'm super appreciative to be a part of that now. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I had the privilege of you sharing your book with me, the book that's about to be released, The Strength of the Oak.
Strength of the oak, strength of the willow. How to find courage and compassion in a turbulent world.
There's so many themes in there that speak so fully to what it is that we all as humans are enduring and battling every single day. What's most striking about the book, Andrew, is that it's so clear. It comes from a lived experience. And speaking for myself, I'm sure most of my audience, when you take advice from somebody or when you have somebody who helps you get to the next level, you want to lean on people who've been there. You don't want to take advice from what I call greenhouse plants, plants that have never been on the side of the cliff, getting pounded by adverse weather, but plants that have been inside this greenhouse, 70 degrees, watered on a regular schedule. In the first chapter of your book, to be quite honest with you, I didn't even know your whole story, because when we do these breakthrough sessions, it's focused on the individual. And my jaw was like a little bit on the floor in how immediately raw, how quickly you got with your life and your journey. And all I thought to myself was in that moment of, yes, this is a person that I want to pour into me because they have been through adversity.
I don't open up my baggage immediately to every client like you in day one. I kind of got called out on that by God saying, hey, if you really want to influence more people, you do need to open it up. And this book is an opportunity for me to share that journey through adversity and other people like you that I've been privileged to coach, and sharing some of their stories so that everyone knows that they're not alone. There are models of success and people who have gone before them that can show them how to get through what they're stuck in.
Really what a gift that is like your story is powerful. I saw on social media, a little quick sidetrack, that one of your coaching students recently became a professional race car driver.
Yeah. We
Right.
started coaching together in 2021, and he was in Indy Lights, which is like the junior level of IndyCar. We had some pretty incredible experiences this last fall that helped propel him into the contract that he just signed this week. So I get to coach a professional athlete and go take my son, watch him race around the country, sharing his life mission, which is to bring people to God. And he uses racing as a vehicle. How fun is that? To bring people closer to God. It's an incredible honor to coach someone like Stingray Rob.
That is just so cool and so incredible. And I'm excited to watch and follow along on that journey. Andrew, something that we immediately kind of hit it off on was I have a daughter and her name is Ayla. It's my first biological child. And Ayla, the root of Ayla, it comes from the meaning of a place of strength. If you take it into the Celtic culture, the root of that, it's taken from the meaning of oak tree, like the center portion of an oak tree. So when you told me that your book was Strength of an Oak, I was like, Andrew, this is crazy. This is incredible.
You wrote a book about my daughter.
That's right. So we hit it off like right away, just on the title of your book. But to follow up, I love philosophy and the lessons that we can extract and pull from them. One of my favorite fiction books is heavily steeped in philosophy, and it's the book Dune. And in Dune, they have this imagery, this metaphor, and it's that the willow submits to the wind and prospers until one day it is many willows, a wall against the wind. This is the willow's purpose. And I thought, whoa, that made me think of Andrew right away, because a willow branch is this flexible branch. And that's what makes it so powerful. And contrasted with the oak tree, this immensely powerful, strong tree, rooted and anchored, who spends the incipiency of its seedling life just putting out roots on a vertical level and getting super strong and tough. Here's this willow who's able to be bent and flexible. But the imagery of that single willow standing alone, and then a second and a third and a fourth, until the willows are so numerous that wind can't penetrate. I just thought, wow, that's really cool imagery and so well applied to the theme and the concept of your book.
I love that. I'm going to dive into that book. And there's going to be some gems in there for me to share as we bring this message of strength. And the cool thing about the oak and the willow is it has deep personal meaning to me, as I had a coach that said, Andrew, you have these two strengths inside you. You are relentless. You are determined. You are bold. Sometimes you forget about that other strength that you have. And that's the strength of the willow. The ability to show up in a compassionate way, to give grace, to listen with empathy, to love on people so much so that you're holding a space for that wind to come through you. I am by nature linked to the oak kind of guy. And this book was written for everyone else that may be leaning too far one way or the other, that maybe does need more courage, or maybe they do need more compassion. So wherever someone falls on that spectrum, you're going to be able to find yourself in that book and find that meaning that will help you level up and really fulfill the mission that you were put on this earth to fulfill.
That awareness that you have, there needs to be this balance between this immovable object, this oak tree, and then this incredibly flexible branch like the willow. Where did that come from, Andrew? Like, when did you have that realization in life? Because I'm sure it took trial and tribulation. It took some reality slapping you in the face to realize what I need to focus on a more balanced approach and really lean into the giftings of both of these aspects of my personality.
So grateful that you asked. Growing up, I knew there was an oak inside me, and kind of like every Marvel movie or the genesis of the X-Men, like there's a superpower inside you that you don't know how to deal with because of the acne on your face or the challenges of not having the girl like you as you're growing up that we see in all these wonderful superheroes. I had that oak inside me, and I was not courageous enough to use it. And I downplayed my strengths. And when I served that 2-year mission and realized what was possible in opening those up, I went all in. I became one of the most mission driven people you could ever meet. That served me in my ability as a teacher, as a father. It also hindered me because I was so focused on helping others that I wasn't willing to take care of myself. I would give compassionately to my fellow man. I missed that opportunity. And it took a divorce that I didn't choose because of some great fault of my own. When people ask, why did you get divorced? It wasn't for all the reasons most people get divorced. It wasn't drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, addictions. When I came out of that divorce, I recognized that I needed to give myself the grace and the compassion so that I could go out and serve others. So really, it was that time about 9, 10 years ago where I recognized that I needed to be a giver to myself first, so there was enough to give others, to grant myself that divine gift of grace.
You had this epiphany, the seed of this realization started to be planted and grow while you were on that mission trip. Was it something specifically that occurred, or was it just an accumulation of experiences? Like what did you gather from that experience on this mission trip that led you down this path?
I finally saw how my life mission could be fulfilled in the service of others. I have this great strength. Sometimes it might feel like a curse, and we don't want to listen to those voices in our head. When I know something is right and I believe that it's in alignment with my life mission, then I'm all in. It becomes a compulsive certainty. Once I know, then I can't unknow something. And then I do whatever it takes without hurting others and without hurting myself to accomplish that calling.
You mentioned it becomes compulsive for you just to pursue in that direction. Like, this must be done, it must be completed. How do you gather that confidence and certainty? Because in the book, you talk about your childhood, the insecurities. You talk about roaming the hallway and not wanting to be part of a group because you felt so isolated and outcast, wanting to hide in the bathroom. I'm curious, for a lot of listeners out there who maybe don't have the confidence that you just protrude today, how did you cultivate that?
I have been blessed to be able to go to and trust great mentors in my life. I actually just today sat down with a gentleman and we actually got on the phone and made a phone call to someone that was able to help him in that very moment that he wasn't able to do on his own. So as a 14-year-old kid, I went to a great mentor in my church, and I was able to receive a very sacred blessing, which is a simple prayer where he was able to help me see what God saw in me. At the age of 14, I knew exactly what my life mission was. And that mission, Tim, is to bless my brothers and sisters who are God's children to live a higher level of spiritual strength. It's to influence as many as possible. Now, I didn't believe it fully at the time, but I saw it because someone else saw it and helped me see what was what the capacity was inside. So I attribute all of my successes to great mentors and people who have helped me see and do something that I wasn't able to see and do by myself.
You were very lucky in that you had a mentor available to you, and a mentor that believed in you and helped you see your potential just enough that it gave you just the slightest amount of momentum to where you could win and win again and again. And that confidence snowball started to grow. The most successful people in the world, if we break down components of their success, people that we look to in admiration of, LeBron James, high level CEOs, athletes, they all have something in common. All of them. They tend to be experts at taming their inner demons in their minds and seeing their full potential. Something that I think that they all have in common, they all share is like the absolute necessity. It's essential to have coaching, to have that person, that mentor who's on your team, pouring into you, reminding you of your potential, reminding you of what you're capable of time in and time again, because inevitably your mind, you let the enemy in. It roams around and your guard wears down. Something that I've noticed from all of these high level performers is how absolutely critical coaching is in their life. It's like a center stone. outside of their faith.
And it's a part of the hero's journey. When you study Joseph Campbell and what he found, every great hero story from all mythology, every Star Wars movie, every Lord of the Rings movie, every Disney movie has that common character in it, that mentor that is able to help the hero see something within themselves and do something they didn't know they were capable of doing. And for me, I've had so many of those experiences that become my life and my career. When someone steps in front of me, I have two questions. Can I help them? And or can they help me? I want to get into an answer as quickly as I can so that we can move them forward in their life mission, which helps me in mine, or they can help me influence more people.
You mentioned a moment ago knowing what your purpose was and then becoming like addicted to the unrelenting pursuit of that. When reading your book, there was something that struck me. You went to a seminar in Arizona. You were there kind of half listening to the speaker who showed up. And that passage that just slapped me, reached out from the page and slapped me was this: God wants you to live your purpose and passion. A lot of the audience can probably relate as we struggle with what is our purpose and passion. This is something that I'm in the middle of wandering around and figuring out. The response in the book was so powerful. And that was, if you don't know what your passion is, go serve someone and you will find out. And kaboom, my brain blew out as I was reading this passage, because what a powerful message, Andrew.
And that's what happened to me when Chad Hymas said that, sitting from his wheelchair 6 feet across a round table. And he didn't look at me for the entire speech or after. He just, in that moment though, he locked his eyes on me. He said, don't know what your mission is? Go out and serve someone. I recognize that, just like Jesus taught, that when I am losing myself in the service of others, that's where I find that purpose. I'm going to say something here that I might regret. Everyone has the same mission in life. It's to serve each other. The question is how. How am I going to do it? And to what degree am I committed to serving my fellow man?
You're very clear on your purpose right now. It's infectious in your energy, in your engagement. I'm so curious, how did you discover that? Because when you heard that speaker, you were already well on your way. How did you start to discover that your superpower was to pour into people?
I wish I could say it was one moment, but it's certainly been a snowball effect. I've been drawn to people as a teenager. I can't tell you how many girls were sent my way that were struggling with things that men had done to them. Now as an adult, it's the same thing. They're just in their 30s and 40s now. They're sharing things that have happened, and these people fall on my path, and I have a choice. Will I help them? Can I help them? Or are they here to help me? As soon as I get an answer, there's some kind of service going on here. And if not, it's just a smile and I send them on their way. It's just a little bit of love.
I want to touch on being 14 years old, wandering the halls of school aimlessly, not feeling like you fit in. And I'm going to make this a little bit vulnerable for a second. I'm going to share something that I've never publicly shared, but something that you and I covered in our breakthrough session. The reason I want to cover this is because, Andrew, you're so disarming when you're so vulnerable. It's immediately disarming. It makes me want to lay my weapons down too and meet you in that place. When I was 14 years old, I was walking one day to meet my mom, who was picking me up to take me to the dentist. Now, I was kind of chubby. I was overweight. At the time, I was this insecure, uncertain, overweight kid carrying a backpack full of honors books that I could barely keep on my back because it was so heavy. I walked past this big tube, like a pipe that was sticking out of the desert floor. And this was in Las Vegas. And there's a bunch of kids in there. And one of them thought I was going to steal their scooter. And they started chasing me down, and I panicked and ran. I'd never been in a fight. I'd never been in confrontation. They ran me down until my legs were on fire. I couldn't run anymore. They caught up to me. It was probably 8, 9 individuals. They circled around me and they proceeded to beat me. They stomped me until I was on the ground. I peed all over myself, and it traumatized me. I could not sleep. I didn't want to go to school. I wanted to run away. Everywhere I went, I felt like the kids were going to come and attack me. What I did in response to that was become undeniable. I was so angry at myself that I put myself in a situation that allowed that to happen. I was so defenseless. I was out of shape. I couldn't defend myself. And I vowed to myself that I would never, ever put myself in that situation again. And so what did I do? I started working out like a savage. I put myself in these insane football drills where I was throwing myself against the biggest kids I could find to just punish myself physically to grow as many calories as I could as quickly as I could. I started wrestling. I became somebody who built an identity into viciousness. I wasn't a vicious human, but that became my identity so that if it ever happened again, I'd be ready. And when I met you, Andrew, that was how my mind was pushing me forward. I was looking behind me in fear of where I had come from. My childhood was full of turmoil. My dad and I slept in a car and storage units. And so money was this other thing where I was looking behind me in fear and I was pushing as hard as I could. And it served me very well to a certain point. But when I met you, you opened my eyes to the reality of, hey, this got you far, but it's not going to get you any further. It's not serving you any longer. It's this perspective change of it's time for you to start looking forward, change that inner narrative. You said something to me. You said, pink elephant, purple polka dots. What that means is if you told me, do not think of pink elephant, purple polka dots, no matter what I say, don't put that image in your brain. The truth is that as much as you tell me not to think of that thing, I think of that thing. As humans, this is one of the most impactful lessons that you've given me, and I implement it every day into my life. I've probably told 100,000 people so far about it. When you're looking behind you at what you're afraid of, when you're running away from this trauma, this fear, and you're not looking forward at the fruitfulness, the abundance of this life that God created you to step into and live, you're never going to escape it because regardless of how hard you try, if you're focusing on that, you're going to run into it.
Because where attention goes, energy flows. And wherever energy is flowing, that's where things are growing. If your message is don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, you're going to be afraid. The powerful work that I get to do with individuals and that you'll learn from the book when you take my workshop, 7 Proven Steps to Forgiveness of Yourself and Others, is how to let go of the beliefs that you held on to and the emotions that are tied to those events so that you are 100% free to plant your roots, get grounded, and grow into the greatness that you were put on this earth to grow into.
That theme, Andrew, has been life-changing for me. We went through this technique called emotional and mental release. We kind of went through these events, these traumatic events that happen in your life, and you helped me to see them in a new light and give myself permission to release these things. So I'm not staring backwards over my shoulder at the pink elephant in purple polka dots. There wasn't necessarily one thing inside of those sessions that changed my life forever, but if you rewired how I think about the language I use, what I'm looking at, to where day to day now, I can instantly recognize if I'm looking over my shoulder out of fear. And it's given me the tool set to stop it, to correct, and be forward looking. I don't want to say it's magic, but it's been so impactful to my life that it almost feels like magic.
And a lot of people have that same experience. Like, how do I share what I just went through in a way that they're going to trust what I'm saying and they can experience something similar? Here's a very simple explanation. How long does it take for a decision to be made to put us into a state of trauma? Like that. Well, then why does it need to take longer than for that to change? I love the counselors and therapists, the licensed professionals that have been so influential in my life. Most of them don't know how to get people out of past traumatic beliefs. Therapy coaches have no clue. They just say, tell me what you want. I'll help you get your goal. Work harder. Let's go. And then you quit. You quit on the coach. You quit on the counselor because the counselor's taking too long or not results. But we can do things fast. We can let things go as quickly as we picked them up because it's all neurology. Just like you can wipe a hard drive in a matter of seconds, you can do the same with your brain. It's called neuro-linguistic programming. And I've devoted my life as a master practitioner of making minds change so hearts can follow.
In the days after our sessions, Andrew, I would lay in bed at night and I would ask myself, did what I just go through, did it impact my life, or am I just letting myself think it impacted my life? You do all this analytical thinking. At least I am. It's the kind of person I am. It's been a few months now since you and I've had our sessions. And I can tell you the lessons that we covered, the releases that we worked through together, and I think of consciously every day, which is wild to think of. I catch myself correcting my language and how I speak about things, and I'm very intentional. And you're right, it's not been ongoing. You and I did a lump sum of sessions together, and that's been it.
Because it's unconscious work. When do your lungs stop working for you? What about your heart? The mind is the same thing. One of my great mentors told me, when we're hacking at leaves and branches of change, hoping to get results, we're missing out on roots of transformation. So rather than trying to bring down this forest of Tim Rule's craziness of life that he's been hacking through, we just get to the taproot that all the other roots are connected to, stick some dynamite down in there and blow the hell out of the forest.
Yeah, your teachings are coupled with this ideology that God didn't make life to just be pina coladas on the beach. Like, some struggle's good, right? There's good struggle. There's good fruit that comes from endurance and struggle. Here's a perfect example, an excerpt from your book right here. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees, the further the sky, the greater the length, by sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men, good timber grows. The imagery of that is so powerful. You're right. It's like back to the greenhouse plants. Do you want a plant? Do you want to be growing in a greenhouse? Or do you want your roots to be strong?
Yeah, the book I teach about stress wood. And that's the wood, that strength that's created from the willow being willing to bend and the oak being willing to stand its ground. It's that stress wood. They can actually scientifically see what's been going on in the environment based on that stress wood, just like I can with any individual. And when we can adopt that turbulent force with a mindset of, why is this happening for me to build strength rather than to me to break me down? Again, why is this happening for me to build strength rather than to me to break me down? Then we can lean into and learn from every adversity. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the reprogramming of those neural pathways in our mind to be in gratitude of the struggle, not to be a masochist or a sadist, like somebody who wants to put yourself through punishment, but it's like the reprogramming of the neural pathways in your brain to say, this is okay. This is normal. This is good. I'm going to lean into this and extract opportunity from this. This is happening for me, not to me. You have an excerpt in chapter 4 that speaks to this perfectly, and I want to highlight it really quickly. An aim worth having. Nothing is given to man on earth. Struggle is built into the nature of life. The hero is the man who lets no obstacle prevent him from pursuing the values he has chosen. That's a quote from Andrew Bernstein.
It's an incredible thing. And what happens is, once we train our brain to begin to pursue life in this manner, it's no longer force. You don't have to force anything. You are aligned with forces of nature. And once you're aligned with forces of nature, you're in flow. Then it becomes second nature. Yet we resist. We resist so much of that wind and that turbulence. And we say, I am stronger. I shouldn't have to deal with this. Why are you doing this to me, creator of the universe?
At the risk of being too cliche, because I feel like I keep hitting points out of your book, but I feel like there's a benefit to sharing it because it's on theme with what you're talking about. Here's another excerpt from your book. The great writer and philosopher Ayn Rand said, happiness is the state of consciousness which proceeds from achievement of one's values. What this means is that our degree of happiness is in direct proportion to our knowledge of and commitment to our most deeply held values. Having clarity on your values is like knowing where your kids are. It puts your mind at ease, and not knowing is certainly not okay.
And we need to know what those values are. On another episode, we will dive into how important values are. Yet when you buy the book, Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow, you'll be able to go through the exercises. I give every tool that my coaching clients that pay good money for to change their lives, they're all in there. It's not secretive. Everyone can have these tools. Everyone can do the work. Everyone can know where their children are and what their values are, and allow those values to drive their vision, and that vision to determine those actions, and those actions then help get different results that they've never gotten before.
So, Andrew, this is really exciting because you have this book coming out. The release of the book is at the end of January. Tell us everything we need to know about where to find this book and start implementing these practices.
You can go to andrewlanderson.com. Anderson is spelled with an O-N. You can follow me on social media. We got Facebook, Instagram at Andrew L. Anderson 85. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can go onto Amazon. You can find the book just about anywhere.
Well, we are definitely looking forward to reading the full copy of that book when it's released. And I know I'm anxiously awaiting a copy of that. To the listener out there who's listening to this and thinking, yeah, this is kind of a lot of woo woo. Maybe this doesn't apply to me. Speak to the person who has reservations.
Which is everybody. Everybody has reservations. The question that I would ask you is this: are you leveling up in your life? Are you feeling a measure of fulfillment and passion in your chosen career, in your relationship with your children, in regards to your body, in your spirituality? Can you say that I am growing personally and developing in a way that I will live with no regrets at the end of my life? If you can say that, you probably shouldn't read this book. But if there's any hesitation and you're wondering, how can I just break through in one of these areas of my life, then this book is for you. The amazing thing, Tim, that the listener can't see was that when you told that story of you as a little boy, you were smiling. Do you remember what you were doing the first time you told me that story?
Yeah, I was crying like a baby.
And you remember it, just like this scar on my elbow. You remember what happened, but the pain isn't there anymore. In fact, these tissues on that elbow of mine are actually deadened. There's no sensation there anymore. And as you go back to that time when you were a kid being chased down, those emotions aren't there anymore. And your nervous system can do that for your body, and it can do that for your mental and emotional well-being. So anyone that's feeling like they are stuck and they're not able to get past those emotions or beliefs from the past and preventing you from being who you can be in the future, we'll help you take care of that in this book.
To the listeners out there, I don't promote a lot of things, but what I will say is this. I am building something incredibly large. I'm starting a movement. We're going to change people's lives. I'm going to reap the fruit of infinite success. And I will tell you that a large part of the fruit that I'm about to harvest is coming from getting in alignment, and Andrew and his techniques are a huge instrumental role in me getting into that alignment and harvesting the success that's on the horizon line.
You, Tim, are doing a great work. I tell that incredible story from the Bible about Nehemiah, who also said, I am doing a great work. I'm building a wall around Jerusalem. We're doing it in 52 days, and I cannot come down. And everyone here is building a wall around their own Jerusalem. They're building a movement just like you are, whether it's just in their home or in their workplace. We're all building those walls, and we have to bring that oak-like commitment that I will not come down, and that willow-like compassion to allow others to help us in the journey as you have. And you have been an incredible example of that. And I want to honor you and what you're doing in your pursuit to change the world, and allowing me the blessing to stand beside you and go down this path together. Your listeners, if you don't know how important this man is in your journey, then you call me. Tim will give you my number and we'll chat.
Andrew, as always, you just have this incredible gift of making me walk away feeling 10 feet tall, and it's a true blessing. And it's been an honor from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for spending some time with us today and going through these techniques. And
thank you, Tim. Onward and upward.
Onward and upward. Thanks, guys. Everybody listening, we will catch you next week.